Welcome back to this week's episode of Dead Air Records podcast. My name is Jess.
And I'm Mark.
And we are the owners of Dead Air Records, an independent record shop based right here in the heart of Liverpool. We started this podcast because we wanted to talk about music and records and vinyl collecting, everything from new releases to also rarities and first presses and special things that come across the counter in our shop. But most importantly, we started this podcast because we wanted to shine a spotlight on some of the amazing musicians, bands and talent that's happening here in Liverpool. This week's episode is a special one. We've got a theme for it, haven't we, Mark?
Well, Jess, today is the 13th of Feb, which means tomorrow is Valentine's Day.
It is.
So we've kind of done...
Oh, does that mean you're presenting your special Valentine's gift to me on this episode?
So, fun fact, we don't do Valentine's Day, and this episode will be an Anti-Valentine's Day podcast. So we will be talking about breakup albums, we'll be talking about distress and destruction of relationships.
Lots of love's complex relationships across the landscape.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about things that have come into the shop recently, and of course we'll be talking about local bands and gigs that are coming up. So, kicking it off, this Anti-Valentine's Day, we have picked some of our favourite Anti-Valentine's Day records. So I'm going to start.
What are you starting with?
I have picked Tom Waits' Blue Valentine.
Perfectly named and perfectly selected for this episode.
Yeah. So
Tell me about it.
Well, it just so happens that this is probably one of my favourite records of all time. So this is one of his last records in the Asylum era before he went off the rails, some would say. So basically, the story is that he was doing these albums on Asylum, and then he went off to record a soundtrack for a film with Crystal Gale, and in the process he met his wife Kathleen Brennan, who later became like his muse, and she introduced him to loads of new influences, including Captain Beefheart, and that's where the next phase in Tom Waits came, the gruff, percussive Tom Waits that most people are aware of. But this album's very tender. So it opens with Somewhere, which is a cover from West Side Story.
Oh, wow.
It really sets the tone for the album.
That's a bold choice to kind of shift into a new musical era and then go for a cover and it be from a musical.
Yeah. It's chock full of heartbreak and tragedy. Includes tracks like Romeo is Bleeding.
Also a great thematic for Valentine's Day.
Exactly. And the legendary Christmas Card from a Hooker in Minneapolis, which is a stunning track. And it makes it so it can also be basically a Christmas album.
Great. So it can be on the player from, December all the way through until February.
Yeah,
it's got
brilliant.
A bit of longevity to it.
It's brilliant. And my favourite track is the final track. It ends with the title track Blue Valentine, and some of the lyrics in there are just amazing. It's about a guy who's escaping previous relationships and is surprised that his ex has been able to find him in Philadelphia or wherever he is. So a stunning record. Anybody who is thinking of getting into Tom Waits, this would be a perfect place to start. Yeah.
And there's rumours that potentially we're going to be getting new Tom Waits music, although maybe we're just furthering those rumours because I have nothing to substantiate those claims.
They are not confirmed. So
you heard it here first. Unconfirmed rumours, not based on any fact.
Yeah, that Tom Waits is in the studio recording new material. Not confirmed.
We're absolutely just fueling the rumour mill now, passing on gossip.
Yeah.
We have nothing to support that.
Nothing.
Apart from hope.
What heartbreaking record do you have to talk about, Jess?
Hopefully we'll still be as happy and smiling by the end of this episode after we talked about all these heartbreak albums. So I thought I'd talk about Robin's album, Body Talk.
Oh my God.
I know.
We're going right in.
Quick, get the tissues.
Yeah.
So I thought it would just fit the theme really nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I know anyone in my friend group that hasn't been on the dance floor at some point, dancing on my own, screaming it at their friends' faces, and great. Basically as track of solidarity through a breakup or anything else.
It's like a staple.
Yeah, it's a staple. It's an absolute I can't think about it. So yeah, groundbreaking electronic pop album. Obviously, Robin, so much influence there.
Yeah.
In pop music. Really, we talked a little bit about how pop music has shifted at the moment in last week's episode. And so many people that are kind of driving that forward now at the moment in terms of Charlie XCX, Lorde, lots of pop people. They all cite Robin. Like, Robin is the person that's been doing all the songwriting, or the person that's been forcing that forwards over the last decade and beyond that. So interestingly, Body Talk, when it first came out, it didn't come out as a full album. It came out in 3 different parts.
Are you joking?
Yeah, I'm not joking.
Wow.
And what that allowed Robin to do is basically release part 1, see where it kind of sat in the landscape of both her as an artist and also how people were receiving it, and then develop it a little bit more for part 2, and then obviously then for part 3 as well. So it's a really experimental record across those 3 parts. You can get hold of it now as one complete album.
Yeah.
But again, interesting how artists choose to distribute their music and how they kind of have that dialogue and conversation with the people who are listening to it as well.
Nice.
So yeah, Body Talk brought Robin multiple Grammy nominations at the time when it came out, which was in 2010, confirmed her status as a pop icon, and yeah, just incredible tracks. And yeah, if you've not listened to it in a while, go listen to Dancing on My Own and try not to cry. But yeah, that's the one I'm bringing to the table this week.
Nice. Well, next I'm going to talk about the boss, Bruce Springsteen, Tunnel of Love.
There he is.
We go to see Brucey on your birthday?
We are. For my birthday, we're going to see Bruce Springsteen.
Because you're a massive fan, right?
Huge.
Yeah, actually.
I should say that is no slander on Bruce Springsteen. I'm just not well versed in the Springsteen universe of the boss that you are. But it'll be a lovely birthday gift for you
for me,
on my birthday.
On your birthday.
Yeah.
It's great.
At Anfield.
And how good is it that, you know, that he hasn't overlooked Liverpool? He's doing 2 nights in Liverpool.
Yeah, due to popular demand as well. When they announced those tickets for the Wednesday, it was just insane. We tried to get them, obviously, dynamic ticket pricing.
Cool.
Fuck you, Ticketmaster. But then they released another date, and we did manage to get tickets, and we're very excited. And we're technically calling it our Christmas night out, aren't we?
Pretty much.
Yeah, but in June.
It's on the business. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Tunnel of Love by Springsteen. So this is a breakup album. Recorded around the time his marriage was dissolving to Julianne Phillips, who is a model and a TV actress. This is, it was a stray away from the usual kind of Springsteen albums. So there were members of the E Street Band on it, but pretty much it's a solo record. He was using drum machines and I know, right? We're going to do it. You were doing drum machines and synths as opposed to the usual analog instruments. Check out this picture of Bruce.
I just couldn't believe when you flipped that over and I saw that
It's
bolo
saucy.
tie.
It's just saucy, isn't it? So,
are you going to wear a bolo tie when we go and see him at Anfield?
I might just wear this outfit, to be honest.
If you go Tunnel of Love, I'll go Born to Run.
Okay. Anyway, great tracks on this. Brilliant disguise as a heartbreaking track. But yeah, loads of great tracks, and it's up there really with Nebraska as my favorite album.
Wow.
Yeah. Excellent. What have you got next?
So I've gone with, I absolutely adore Mama Cass.
Oh, Mama Cass.
As you know.
Yeah.
And so I've gone with the Mamas and the Papas debut album, which is called If You Can Believe Your Eyes and Ears. And so I chose this not necessarily because of the heartbreak content in the album itself, but because around the sort of heartbreak story around the Mamas and Papas, which is quite sad. So for anybody that doesn't know, the Mamas and Papas released their debut album in 1966. It was the height of the folk rock boom in the US.
Nice.
And they were known for their harmonies, blending folk, pop and rock with that Californian vibe. And it really defined the 60s, obviously California Dreaming, all the tracks.
Oh yeah.
They defined an era and really captured that free-spirited energy of the 60s. Fun fact, that album, on the front cover, all the band are sat in a bathtub in a bathroom, and there's a toilet to the side of them, as there usually would be next to a bath.
Yeah.
But that toilet got censored because they thought it was too risque or it was too controversial to have a picture of a toilet on an album cover.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Well, how far we've come.
Yeah.
And so what they actually did after the first release, they started sticking a sticker on the front of the album
to cover
up the toilet. Yeah, with the track listings on.
Right.
And so the fact, I just find it hilarious that they thought that was controversial, and a bit too risque. Yet the absolute story behind the creating of the album is heartbreaking.
Tell me more.
So in the band, there are 4 band members. You have Mama Cass, also known as Cass Elliot. You've got Denny Doherty and then John and Michelle Phillips. John and Michelle Phillips were married. Michelle started having an affair with Denny.
Saucy.
During the album creation, the debut album. But unbeknownst, well, maybe not unbeknownst, but Mama Cass had a huge love for Denny as well, but it was unrequited, which is one of the worst and most heartbreaking loves of all.
We have all been there.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
And therefore, this album was created at this time when you had John and Michelle's marriage breaking down. Michelle's with Denny. Mama Cass is in love with Denny.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's an absolute mess. But the album, wow.
Yeah.
So proof that something incredible can come out of heartbreak, maybe. But yeah, definitely lots of emotion pushed into those songs. I love the Mamas and Papas.
Me too.
I love that era of music.
Yeah.
It's so nice. I feel like I was born in the wrong decade. And Mama Cass obviously went on to have an incredible solo career, an absolute feminist icon. And make your own kind of music. That was one of her big songs from her solo career.
Right. Okay. That had a resurgence recently.
Well, when you say recently, that had a big resurgence when Lost, that really recent TV show came out. What? Remember that? Well, do you remember like the big cliffhanger in Lost?
Yeah.
So yeah, that came out. Second season drops. First episode, first track that comes on. Make your own kind of music. Big reveal.
Yeah.
They go. What? You're looking at me like you've never watched Lost before.
I have watched Lost before. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Then they go and they find Desmond in the tunnle and that song's playing and everyone's like, why is there music on this island? Anyway, that was one of my first introductions to the music. Good. A wild card connection there of a segue, but yeah, I love that album.
I was talking about the Pedro Pascal scene in the new Nicolas Cage movie. That's what I was talking about. You always go back to Lost.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, sorry.
You love that.
Yeah, and also, obviously made another resurgence recently in there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mama Cass cited in a lot of things. Music keeps coming back in different TVs and films.
Great.
But yeah, what have you got?
I have got the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I mean,
what can you say about that?
I mean, there's not a lot really to be said about it, but I thought I'd give us a bit of a rundown about it. So it's Apple Music just voted this the #1 album of all time.
All time.
Think about that. I just
think about all of time.
All of time. A #1 album of all time. No, I get it as well. Released in 1998. I think I've just had this by my side ever since then. It's just one of those great albums. Didn't realize it was really a breakup album or a heartbreak album because there's just so many bangers on it. But it is. And so Lauryn Hill at this point, the Fugees had split up and it had been a bit of a mess with Wyclef Jean. And also she was falling pregnant to Marley. And so she was going through a really big changing period in her life. And this album really is about finding love, reimagining what love can be as a mother, as a partner, as an ex. And so, it's a good listen, a really heartbreaking album. I can't really say a lot about it, though, because it's all been done. So The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, one of the best albums, if not the best album of all time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Next up, I have, and again, another album, like what more can you say about it? Because it's just been talked about so much. But I've gone with Fleetwood Mac's Rumours.
Oh, it has to be spoken about.
Yeah, I feel like all the albums I've picked is because there's like an awful heartbreaking story behind the album rather than in the lyrics, but this kind of covers both bases, I guess. So Rumours, it's a backstory of love, heartbreak and betrayal.
Oh my god,
I know, sorry if you're still with us, apologies. When this was recorded, the band was in total disarray. You've got Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham and their long-term relationship was falling apart.
Wow.
You've got Christine and John McVeigh and they were going through a divorce after 8 years of marriage, and then Mick Fleetwood had just discovered his wife was having an affair.
Oh my god.
So all the band are going through turmoil and hell and back through their relationships, and they even had to record tracks in separate rooms at points to avoid conflict.
Oh my god.
Just so much drama. Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got tracks from Lindsey and Stevie in terms of songwriting. So Lindsey's track, you've got Go Your Own Way. Just forgetting the name of one of the most played songs of all time.
I think you did Go Your Own Way, Jess.
I did. I've made up my own title for it. And so, yeah, that's a breakup anthem filled with bitterness and defiance and written about Stevie Nicks, of course. But then you've got Stevie Nicks' Dreams in response to that, which
beautiful.
is the perfect mix of heartbreak and hope. And then also, what is it on this album? I think it was only released in the deluxe edition, which this isn't. So when You Can Go Your Own Way was released, on the B-side, you had Silver Springs, and that was a track that Stevie wrote, and that's all about the breakup from her perspective.
Oh, wow. Right.
Quite like sly that got put on the B-side
and
got scrapped from the album. And Lindsay's just out here telling his side of the story.
That's terrible.
Classic. And so, so Silver Springs, but I don't know if you've seen it. It just goes around the internet every now and then, but there's an amazing clip from a gig they did in 1997 where Stevie Nicks is singing Silver Springs and she's just like staring down Lindsay on the stage. And it's just like, when do you ever get the chance to write a song about your ex and then sing it to them on stage in their face while everybody's like cheering you on?
That's great.
It's great. It's a great clip. But yeah, this is the album I've gone with. I guess obviously it's got all the heartbreak in there, but it's also got all the resilience in there. The band came together, they released Rumours, obviously one of the best albums of all time, most listened to album. It's so significant in terms of music history and how, again, something incredible and that can last the test of time can come out of something so absolutely harrowing, probably for them all.
Awesome.
So next up, this is Across the Counter, where we look at some of the special things that are coming to the record shop, whether that be rarities or first presses. Obviously, this week, we're doing something thematic. So we're looking at breakup albums, first presses of things that are connected to love songs, and also, sticking on the Anti-Valentine's Day vibe.
Cool.
Shall I kick us off?
Let's go.
Excellent. So again, another album that I'm not quite sure where to start, because when an album is just so big and millions of people have spoken about
it's a classic.
It's a classic, but I have gone with this lovely copy of Blue by Joni Mitchell.
Nice.
This isn't a first press. The album came out in 1971, but this is a 1972 pressing of the album, and we can tell that because of its textured sleeve.
Nice.
So yeah, it's got this sort of grainy kind of rough texture to it, like an uncoated card, which is different from the first album, which had more of like a satin slick finish. It comes in a gatefold sleeve. You've got all of Joni's heartbreaking and painful lyrics in here that you can pour over and have a little look at. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? Joni Mitchell like poured her soul into this album. She describes it as it being so personal that it felt like she was removing a layer of skin when she recorded Blue.
Unbelievable.
But much of the album is inspired by her breakup with Graham Nash of Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Oh, right. No way.
And then also at the beginning of her relationship with James Taylor as well.
She left Nash for Taylor.
Taylor,
though, he's got some great tracks. He's got some great tracks.
Their qualities her decisions weren't based on their music. But yeah, he's got some great tracks. More tracks than we thought as well. Like I was listening to James Taylor this week and I just didn't realise
how many
songs that I knew from that period that have just become, they just, when you have songs just in your head, you don't know where they've come from. But it's like a core programming that you have there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this crosses that journey for Joni from her breakup with Graham Nash into James Taylor, and James Taylor also played guitar on this album as well. But Joni Mitchell, she holds such a special place in people's hearts across multiple generations. It's an iconic album. It always goes down as one of the best albums that has ever been made. I don't know what more to say apart from
it's a stunning pressing as well.
It's a stunning pressing.
It sings, when you put it on, it just sounds absolutely incredible. It's in such good condition.
Also on Reprise Records as well, which, fun fact if you don't know, is Sinatra's label that he founded. Although I did find a little bit that was like it's Sinatra and Dean Martin's label, but it's definitely Sinatra's label.
Sinatra's label,
but what's quite interesting actually, Reprise Records, I think I was reading about it, they got bought by Warner, I believe it was. Only with like sort of like a couple of years, maybe a decade afterwards. But what was interesting about Reprise is the artists that they signed, they all had lots of control over the publishing of their music. And so, which was quite unheard of at the time. Normally when you were locked into a contract in that era of time, you were locked in for life, but Sinatra created it so artists could have more control and freedom over their music and also give them the full ability to be as creative as they wanted to.
Amazing.
Which kind of explains why we get all these incredible albums out of that era as well.
Great.
So what have you got?
Well, I've got something special. I've got the wedding album from John and Yoko. Interestingly, this is a Japanese pressing.
Oh, wow.
So this was part of a collaboration between John and Yoko. It's very experimental. The reviews, not glowing. I'll be honest. It came out at the time. There was 3 albums that they did, this being the last one. But yeah, very experimental, but there's some really cool things included. So there's this lovely strip of photos.
That is a classic couple photo shot. Go into a photo booth, get your black and white photos.
I love it.
Gorgeous.
This lovely photo of them when they were in bed doing their sleeping in New York.
Nice. That little postcard on the back as well.
It's a little postcard.
Cute.
Very nice. That's cool. And then, yeah, it's just chock full of stuff. It's got lovely insert. It's got some details of the album. Look at this.
That's
all
really
in
nice.
Japanese. Pretty cool. There's posters. There's booklets. And one of the main things that I wanted to show you, though, which I think is so cool, is there is on the inside of the box, there is the wedding certificate.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that?
That's really cool.
So,
Let's have
yeah.
a little look. What kind of details has it got on there?
So it's just a replica of their certificate of marriage. So it's got the date, which was the 20th of March, 1969. And where it was, their full names, Yoko Ono Cox, John Winston Lennon. And yeah, I just thought that was a really cool thing to have. So when you put this on and you listen to it, it is really out there. So there's things like them just shouting each other's names into microphones to a recording of their heartbeats and stuff like that. So,
and if you stick around, that's what Mark and I will be doing at the end of this episode.
yeah. Just, yeah, I could just imagine. But it's, it is very cool. And it's a nice thing to have, like being a Japanese pressing as well. It's not something that you see that often.
Yeah.
So very cool to have in stock. Yeah.
Yeah. Very well thought through as well in terms of what they include on it and kind of build that album artwork too.
Yeah. Beautiful. So what do you have?
Nice. I have something a little bit more up to date in terms of the timeline of music.
Nice.
This is a special pressing of the 1975. It's a live album that they recorded with the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra. And it was actually recorded in one of our favourite venues.
No way.
In the Empress Ballroom in Blackpool.
Get out of town. Oh, we have some funny stories about the Empress Ballroom.
We do.
There was one time, do you remember we were en route to go and see Enter Shikari?
Yeah.
Enter Shikari. And
that dates the year of this story.
Yeah, totally. And they were doing a sound check.
Yeah.
And tiles started blowing off the top of the Empress Ballroom.
The bass was too wobbly.
Gig cancelled. Thank you very much.
It couldn't cope with the bass of Enter Shikari.
Yeah. So the Empress Ballroom.
Incredible
holds a special
venue.
part in my. Yeah.
Same. I've seen Radiohead there.
Oh wow.
That was amazing. First time I saw people get shushed at a gig.
Really?
Yeah. Shh. Tommy Hawker's on stage. Mm-hmm. Who else have I seen that? Saw the Arctic Monkeys, before they became absolutely massive. That goes down as like a big iconic gig in Blackpool. But yeah, this was recorded in 2016, I believe it was. It was actually done for BBC Radio 1's Live Lounge.
Okay.
So you had 1975 on stage, the whole of the Philharmonic Orchestra out sort of in the what's their floor called? It's like a bouncing floor.
Oh, it's a bouncing floor, isn't it?
It's a ballroom floor, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's springboard. And then you've got everybody, obviously, all the audience around that as well. So It's got a bit of a mixture of songs on here across the albums, but it includes big songs like The Sound, Somebody Else, Chocolate, I Like It When You Sleep. But it's got all the warmth and the additions from the orchestra as well.
Nice.
So this was released for Record Store Day in 2023. So it's an exclusive to that.
Oh, wow.
It was limited to 2,500 copies in the US and 4,500 copies in the UK.
Nice.
It comes in this gatefold jacket. With 2 printed inner sleeves, and it's on clear vinyl as well. So let's just have a quick look at that, which is very nice. So yeah, very collectible, perfect. Obviously a 1975 fan, and also you get to hear the music in a different way with the orchestra as well.
Yeah,
I guess I picked this because connection to Valentine's Day is, I feel like all of their songs are about heartbreak or
and love.
longing or love or relationships or your identity in and without those relationships. But yeah, a special one, and I thought I'd bring us a little bit more up to date with something from 2016 as well.
Let's go. I love it. Okay, so every week we're going to put a focus on local bands to try and shed some light on the amazing talent that we have in this city. So this week I'm going to start things off by talking about Pet Snake. This is a singer-songwriter called Evelyn Halls, who's currently taking a break to make an album.
That's really exciting, though.
Yeah.
So a new album's coming soon.
Yep, I like it. It's a bit scuzzy. From Clean Cut Kid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, who formed in 2012 after members Mike Halls and Evelyn Halls were set up on a blind date by a friend.
That's a really nice choice for this week's episode, keeping with the thematic.
Yeah, it's
Great.
cute, isn't it? And I mean, been listening a lot to Pet Snake recently, and I just feel like the music stands out. Like, again, singer-songwriters, they're always making the rounds, and it's hard, really, I think, to stand out from the crowd. But Evelyn just sounds incredible. Like, this voice is just different to everything else that I've heard recently. And we really just wanted to shine a light on the music. And please, if you can, look up Evelyn Hall's Pet Snake. And we can't wait for the new album.
Yeah, would definitely recommend checking out their YouTube, going down a bit of a rabbit hole of that. The videos are really nice as well and lend themselves to the sounds.
For sure.
Next up, they're kind of taking a bit of a gear change in terms of genre.
Nice.
I'm going to introduce you to Mari, who is a Japanese-British singer-songwriter based here in Liverpool. Their sound is how they describe it as Y2K hyperpop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sounds incredible.
Y2K hyperpop. Great to say, great to hear. So her debut EP, Little Bitch, Little Danger Zone.
Little Bitch, Little Danger Zone. I love it.
Little Bitch, Little Danger Zone.
I love it.
Great EP name. That came out in 2024. And since then, she's dropped a few singles. Hot Topic came out a couple of months ago.
Nice.
An absolute banger.
Really?
Yeah. So good. The synth in it is amazing. It's just, I mean, there's no other way to describe it apart from hyper pop. Like
Nice.
It's super bubblegum, super poppy, but it's also got some emo elements in there, or sort of like emo crosses over with synth. Yeah, I love it. It appeals to the inner emo in me.
I love it.
And also, it sounds a little bit like Kesha. So
Right.
it's definitely got that sort of hard synth, poppy vibe to it.
Yeah.
I really like it. Check her out, Mari. She's all across social media. Her TikTok's great as well. YouTube is amazing.
Nice.
Give it a go.
Cool. Next up, I'm going to talk about Astles. I think I pronounced that right.
Yes.
Yep. Singer-songwriter named Dan. Promise of new music coming soon. Doing shows all over the city. It's just been making waves. I've heard loads of people talking about shows that they've seen him at, and I just think, again, we're going back to singer-songwriters, but that just sounds completely different to everything else that's out there. Gentle, but at the same time, like, dynamic and thoughtful. So it's something that I've really enjoyed, really been enjoying the records. You've seen some YouTube stuff?
Yeah, it's such a heartwarming sound. So there's two things I recommend you check out. Astles did a session in the Lady Lever Art Gallery, which is just like a beautiful melding of his sound and the kind of surroundings and the aesthetic of the gallery. So that's on YouTube, so check that out. And then also there's a really nice video that probably, if you check out Astel's social media, it'll be through there. But it was all about how he approaches a song and songwriting and how he goes into the recording process. So really gives you an insight into how he approaches that, which is lovely too. So check those two videos out and go listen to the tracks.
It's great. So we're going to be shining a spotlight on local bands on every episode. So if there are any of you out there who would like for us to talk about you, or if you have any new releases or anything like that, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
And you can get in touch with us on social media, either dropping us a message on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, anywhere. Our handle is @deadairvinyl, or you can also give us an email as well. So if you go to our website, deadairvinyl.co.uk, you'll find all the details on there.
Or you can come to the shop.
That's how we get our best recommendations. Just pop into the shop and come and have a chat with us. You can come put up your posters. You can put your records in here.
For sure.
Yeah, this is what we're here to do. We're here to be representative of the city. We're very grateful to the city for allowing us to have this shop.
For sure.
All we want to do is kind of like open that up and share the space with as many people as possible. So come on in.
Next, we're going to talk about some gigs that are happening in the city that are coming up.
Yes. So shall I kick us off?
Go for it.
Amazing. So we actually had a really good response. So we put something out on social media and asked people to send us their gigs. Thank you so much for everybody that got in touch. We have pulled together a couple of ones that have come through to us.
Nice.
So first up is Glue, who are a collective. They're a Liverpool-based techno and electronic music collective. They are run by Greganza and DJ CD, and they are back at the Bakery in Kensington in March. There's no date confirmed yet, but if you check out their socials and keep an eye on it, they'll announce a date soon. I hadn't actually heard of the Bakery until they sent me a message. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad for you bringing to that my attention.
Tell me more.
So the bakery is a club. It's on Marvin Street, which is up in Kensington. It's gone through a few iterations before in different pop-ups. It was
Nice.
previously the Dead Pigeon Gallery, which I think I had heard of.
Okay.
But yeah, it's since then, in October in 2024, it's opened up as an underground music and arts venue. And so they've released monthly programs as well. So
It's
yeah,
so cool.
it's
There's
really,
so
really
much
nice.
good stuff happening in the city.
There's so much good stuff, and just not happening in the city centre as well. Like, I feel like with the city centre, we're all familiar with those venues.
Yeah.
Those venues have a certain capacity size. You kind of get the idea of what the music scene's like, but it's all the fringe venues. It's the DIY setups.
Nice.
It's why Liverpool's always been at the forefront of this creativity. It's what happens on the fringes and what happens in terms of like underground
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily always get visibility.
Yeah.
And yeah, so thank you so much for letting us know about that. Keep an eye on Glue's social media to find out the date. But yeah, that's going to be great in March at the bakery in Kensington. So check that out.
Cool. Next, I'm going to talk about False Thoughts. They're brilliant. I absolutely love them.
It's super heavy, right? If
Really
you're into
heavy.
metal, if you're
Yeah.
into like, heavycore, metalcore stuff,
Really
False
cool.
Thoughts.
False Thoughts, 15th of March, headlining Heebie-Jeebies. Special guests Rosemary, Sundancer, and Thane. Saturday the 15th of March, heavy metal, and one of Johnsie's gigs. Johnsy, shout out, excellent.
Does so much of the city, an amazing promoter
Yeah.
across lots of different genres as well.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Great. And then lastly, one for your diary, Foam Over.
I've got a soft spot for Foam Over.
James and Alex always come into the shop. They're super supportive. We're so grateful for how they've been supportive on
Yeah,
our journey as a
for
little
sure.
independent shop. So their band Foam Over are headlining the Jacaranda Baltic, or they're going to the Jacaranda Baltic for the first time ever with support from Acrylic and Bedroom Toys. That is on the 18th of April. So Jacaranda Baltic, 18th of April. Foam Over. And also before that, if you want to check them out before April, they're playing a gig at the Zanzibar on the 22nd of February. And that's actually the same day they're releasing their brand new song, Daydreaming.
Let's go.
So that's their new single. So yeah, keep an eye out for them. New music, Zanzibar on the 22nd of February, Jacaranda Baltic on the 18th of April.
Awesome. So I think that's the end of our special Valentine's Day episode. Happy Valentine's Day, darling.
Absolutely not.
No,
Happy Valentine's
no
Day.
way.
Hope you have a great day. It's any other Friday. Hope you just do whatever you want to do. Doesn't have to be governed by some holiday that's designed to sell cards and chocolates. But alas, if you are celebrating it, also have a nice time.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. Hope you got some nice music recommendations. One thing we are going to do is we're going to put together all the tracks and all the albums that we talked about in a playlist that we can share with you as a nice mixtape. So we'll drop the link in that into the podcast so you can check that out.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Thursday, 5 p.m, a new episode. You can watch it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the usual places. You kind of get the gist by now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Take care.